Chapter 13 of The Semi-Attached Couple by Emily Eden. This Librivox recording is in the public domain. Lord Teviot wrote all his invitations. Then he thought of showing them to Helen before he sent them. And then again he felt some difficulty in renewing the conversation. The waywardness of his temper had so often displayed itself, that between him and Helen many of the commonest topics of conversation were attended with awkwardness, and he had discovered that she not only abstained from contradicting him on any point that had once inflamed his temper, but that she never even alluded to the disputed point again. Even this caution offended him. A bright thought now occurred to him. He would ask Lady Portmore to bring Miss Forrester with her. He knew they were acquainted with each other, and the arrival of Helen's favourite friend would reconcile her to the Portmore visitation, and to the consequent delay of her return to Eskdale Castle. And then, if her family came, he did not see anything of which she could complain. He had done all he could to please her. She ought to make allowance for his manner, for he owned that it was at times rather taunting, but she ought to be above such trifles. It was a pity Lord Teviot had never read Hannah More. Her prose would have been of great use to him, but even her poetry would have taught him that, since trifles make the sum of human things, and half our misery from trifles springs, O let the ungentle spirit learn from thence a small unkindness is a great offence. And consequently, a series of small unkindnesses is very offensive indeed, and it would not have been surprising if Helen were offended. But she was not. She was depressed, half frightened, and half unhappy. Lord Teviot's expressions of affection were almost as alarming as his anger. He was so energetic in all his professions, so violent, as it seemed to her who had been accustomed to the gentle love of her mother and the playful tenderness of her brothers and sisters, that she did not know how to answer his vehement protestations and eager upbraidings. And then his sudden starts of temper puzzled her. In short, she did not understand him, and amidst all the grandeur that surrounded her, and the magnificent gifts which Lord Teviot heaped on her, she felt troubled. She longed to be at home again, and at her ease, but she was too gentle to be resentful. When Lord Teviot had dispatched his letters, he found her in her garden. Not one of the old-fashioned gardens, full of roses and honeysuckles, and sweet peas, suggestive of the country, and redolent of sweetness, but in a first-rate gardener's garden, every plant forming part of a group, and not to be picked or touched on any account, all of them forced into bloom at the wrong time of the year, and each bearing a name that it was difficult to pronounce and impossible to remember. Helen was standing apparently absorbed in admiration of a Lancifolium speciosum, which she had been assured by her gardener was a better variety of the Lancifolium punctatum. But in reality she was thinking first of her mother, wondering when she should see her again, and next what she could find to say to Lord Teviot at dinner. She hoped he would not look for her before that, but just as she had devised an inoffensive remark, which might be hazarded before the servants, she saw him standing beside her, and the conversation had to begin forthwith. The flowers were a safe topic. Lilium punctatum played its part, that led to admiration of the place. Then Lord Teviot, who, as well as Mrs. Tomkinson, perceived that "my lady had not a hatom of colour," offered her his arm, and finding no signs of resentment, thought that it would be a greater support if he put it round her waist, and once established in that confidential and highly conjugal attitude, he felt he could explain away more easily the misunderstanding of the morning. And when he saw the delight with which Helen heard of the arrangements he had made, and the ecstasy with which she looked forward to the arrival of her family, his heart smote him for the pain he had inflicted on her. His kindness gave her courage and spirits. "And so you have written yourself to Mary Forrester? How pleased she will be! Oh, I hope she will come. And you have really asked Eliza Douglas, your own particular guest? Mrs. Douglas will be enchanted, and of course say something bitter about it, but still she will think that Lord Teviot has some good qualities at least. She tries to think so for poor Helen's sake, and at all events he is very civil to us." "Poor Helen," repeated Lord Teviot, as he pressed her fondly to his heart.
And may I ask why you are poor Helen with Mrs. Douglas?"
"Oh, because everybody who is not a Douglas is poor something or somebody. She has for years pitied poor mamma, who has never known what grief is; and I heard of her saying that the high spirits of poor Lord Beaufort would end by wearing himself and everybody belonging to him."
"And would she pity you now?"
"Not at this moment," said Helen, gaily and carelessly.
"And even a moment of happiness is to be prized?" He answered coldly. "Happiness seldom lasts much longer. However, let us hope you may overtake it again on Thursday. I suppose you will have your family here then?"
"Did you name Thursday?"
"I said the sooner the better, that you would be very uneasy till they came, and that I should hardly be able to persuade you to stay at St. Mary's much longer without them."
"It was only because mamma was alone that I wished to go to her now," said Helen timidly, for she felt a change of tone in the conversation. "And I thought she would be unhappy."
"Oh, it requires no excuse. Nothing can be more natural. It is only a matter of surprise to me, Helen, how you ever prevailed on yourself to leave her. I ought to be flattered that I had influence enough to persuade you to take such a step, though it is rather a check to my vanity to find that I cannot prevent your regretting it."
"Dear Teviot, I have never expressed any regret, I am sure."
"No, you are much too guarded, too careful of giving offence, I mean. And besides, let us hope that even moments of happiness, since you can have no more—"
"Has that offended you? Oh, Teviot, how you will misunderstand me!"
"I am very unfortunate, certainly. My want of comprehension is most distressing. Perhaps if our feelings were more the same, my obtuseness would not be so great. But as it is, I am not sufficiently cool and guarded to judge calmly. I hoped I had at last found a way to please you. However, it is of no consequence. I have intruded on your ladyship's horticultural pursuits, I fear," he said, with a bad imitation of playfulness. "You must have wished me away repeatedly, and as I have hardly time for a gallop before dinner, I have the honour to take my leave."
"I thought you meant to ride in the evening, but I can be ready in a moment."
"It is just possible that I may be able to ride twice in one day, and that for once I may choose to ride alone. I have been long enough in your way now, and so good-bye."
"Now what can I have said that has annoyed him again?" thought Helen. "But so it always is. He never understands me. I wonder why he married me. And yet at first how different he was from what he is now. When we danced together in London, how pleasant he was, so gay and so ready to talk and laugh and be amused. But then I was different too, and more amusing, I should think, for I feel so grave and dull now, and whenever I try to be in spirits I say something that vexes him. Well, papa and mamma will be here soon, that is one comfort, and dear Beaufort. Nothing ever puts him out of sorts. But I must not think of that." Helen wandered home, absorbed in ruminations over her new position, and she was so absent that Mrs. Tomkinson's distrust of my lord was confirmed, and it seemed almost time to hint her very low opinion of him to Mr. Phillips. The evening passed away better than Helen had expected. Lord Teviot's gallop had put him into better humour, and Helen's spirits rose when she was dressed for dinner. I have often observed that the petty vexations and worries of the early part of the day are taken off and folded neatly up with the morning gown, and a fresh fit of spirits and good humour put on with the evening adornments. It is a change for the better, personally and mentally. End of Chapter 13.